your right hand, then your right hand. If you're left-handed, your left hand. You're going to make an imaginary line between the nipples. And you're going to put the heel of your dominant hand right in between. So mid-line, mid-nipple line, right in between, okay? Before anybody says anything, because I hear this every week teaching this stuff, they go, Kirk, if I did that to my grandma, I'd be doing compressions on her kneecaps. So, if you are large bosomed, if your patient's large bosom, or if gravity has exerted their toe on them, like it will to all of us, so don't laugh too hard. What you're gonna do is, instead of mid-nipple line, you're gonna make a line from the armpit to the other side, armpit to armpit, and you're gonna go 2 fingers below that line. So again, your measurement is either mid-nipple line or armpit to armpit, 2 fingers below that line. Does that make sense? Okay. So mid-nipple line, put your dominant hand, the heel of the hand, right in the middle of the chest. Your other hand, you're gonna interlace the fingers. People come up with all these weird ways of doing this. You wanna interlace, because when you interlace and pull up, it exposes the right part of the heel to the chest, okay? So hand down, interlace the fingers. The next very important thing, you want to lock your elbows. You don't wanna have a bend in your elbows at all. And now you're gonna position your body so that your shoulders are directly above your hands. Here's why. If you do compressions from the side like this, your arms are gonna get tired very quickly. If you lock your elbows and you're directly on top of your hands, now you're using your upper body weight to push down on your patient's chest. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. We're gonna guess, our best guess at about 2 inches. We're gonna do 30 compressions. We're gonna do them all together. I'm gonna count, I want you guys to count with me, but here's the speed, okay? So here we go, it's gonna be like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, count with me. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20,
21, 2, 3, 4,
25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Beautiful. The people that were watching that didn't get to do it, switch with them so we can do another set there. If you have a mannequin by yourself, you can't get enough practice, so stay here with me and we'll do it again. Okay, so from the beginning, okay, this is what would happen. You arrive at the scene. Kite's taken care of. You looked up, down, side to side, look safe. We're gonna approach the person, your patient. Hey buddy, okay, are you all right? Look at somebody specifically in the eyeballs and go, Kurt, call help. I don't know if they're breathing or not. Come back to me, let me know no, they're coming, okay? We're gonna cut things away. We're gonna look at the chest. Now at this point, your heart should be beating out of your own chest. Take a nice deep breath through your nose, out your mouth. One more time. Look at the chest very carefully. For this scenario, the chest is not moving. We're gonna go straight to compressions.
911's coming.
Thank you, man, appreciate it. Mid-nipple line, first hand right there. That is the best thing I can hear, is to know that help is coming. Other hand right there, lock your elbows, here we go. 1, 2, count. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Perfect. Now here's a really nice thing to have. If you have somebody there with you, if you're the person behind, count with them. It just gives that person a feeling of being supported. Does that make sense? I will tell you in a second why it's so important that you count out loud. There's 2 very, very important reasons for that, okay? You want them now? I'll give them to you now. Okay, here's why. First reason, good reason. When the fire department gets here, when the ambulance gets here, and they can hear you counting, they can audibly hear you going 17, 18, 19, 20, the first thing we're gonna do is look at your compressions. Your compressions look good, I'm gonna go, buddy, keep going, I'll be right there. That allows me to get my med box open. I can get the defibrillator ready. I can get my intubation kit ready. We can spike an IV, okay? What we don't want you to do, which happens all the time, is this. 16, 17, 18, oh, thank God you guys are here. We're like, don't stop! You know? So what's gonna happen is once I get my stuff ready to go, you're gonna just feel a gentle tap. Somebody's gonna come behind you and say, hey Dave, man, I got this. Thank you very much. Then you back off. Does that make sense? So don't stop, keep going. So that's an okay reason. here's a phenomenal reason to count out loud, okay? Let me show you this. If I count in my head, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's space in silent counting for horrible thoughts to come into play. Oh my, this is my friend, this is my buddy. Oh my God, I should have been looking at him kiting, I wasn't paying attention. You know, what if he doesn't make it? And those thoughts can render you useless. I've seen people that knew CPR were unable to do anything because they're so distraught by what was happening. If you count out loud, check this out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. If I want to tell you my next thought, what do I have to do with my counting? No, I want to talk to you. What do I have to do? I have to stop. I have to stop my count, right? I can't tell him what I'm thinking and count at the same time. So if you count out loud, there's no gaps of space for your brain to go through all the horrible negative stuff that might be happening. It gives you something mechanical to focus on. You're going to do better compressions. You're going to keep yourself calm. Count out loud. Make sense? Okay, so the first part of this is we took that.
There's another reason too. The 911 responder is also going to find you easier if you're making a noise like that.
Oh, absolutely. So here's a very important thing, and let's talk about third, okay? When I came here by GPS. This is not a, I live close to Sherman. I go there. So when I got the address out of the event, my GPS took me to, I didn't get here. Let's put it that way. I saw him, look at me going, are you confused? I go, yes, I am. And then he took me to another parking lot because his GPS says go to that parking lot too. And then I go, it's by the AstroTurf. And then he went, I know where to go, right? So the fire department, dude, the best thing that we, 30 years driving that engine, when we would, not just directions, when I make a turn and there's somebody going like that, it's awesome. I know I'm in the right place. So in a place like this, put 2 or 3 people, signaling the ambulance or the fire department. These guys should know where you are. You say, hey, kiteboarding the launch at 3rd Avenue, local fire department should know. It's a help. You could have an ambulance, a private ambulance, and it's the guy's first day here. So put as many people as you can, just indicating us where we should go. Make sense? Okay, so now we took all this oxygen that was just sitting there because the pump was broken. We became the pump and we circulated that. So the next step is we're going to add air to this. So now the breaths, right? So now somebody's talking about the tongue and all that. We'll talk about that. So when you pass out, and this happens to you, you don't swallow your tongue. Anatomically, you can't do that, okay? But there's a back structure to the tongue that when you put your chin down like this, that back structure can block your airway. Okay? Matter of fact, I'd show you. If you were to take your chin, my chin doesn't do it because I got pins on my neck, but try to touch your chin to your chest as much as you can. And then if you put your hands right here to the side of your neck, both hands like this, and very slowly, if you start to look up, you're gonna notice that your hands kind of move downward. So when we open somebody's airway, that back structure backs off and allows the pipe to be open. Now you have access to the pipe, right? Your nose, your mouth, that's the pipe that you get air from out here into you. So I'm gonna show you really quickly. There's something called the head tilt chin lift maneuver. I don't care if you never remember that term, as long as you live, as long as you can do it, okay? And all you're gonna do to open somebody's airway, you're gonna take one hand, put it on their forehead. With the other hand, you can actually pinch the bony part of the chin, and then you're going to bring the chin up and the head back. This right here can be a life-saving move, okay? You can open somebody's airway, and it's possible they would start breathing again. You can do this, and sometimes somebody will gasp, and even though they're still unconscious, now we have an air exchange. When we do compressions, okay, we do 30 compressions and 2 breaths, okay? Here's all your numbers for this. for adults in the cartboarding community, you're gonna give everybody 30 breaths. I'm sorry, 30 compressions, 2 breaths, 5 times. 30 compressions, 2 breaths, 5 times. Okay? What happens after the 5th time?
Do it again.
You're gonna switch with somebody. If there's somebody there that knows CPR, you're gonna switch with them. Now here's what happens. When you tap somebody on the shoulder and you go, buddy, that's number 5, let's switch, I'll guarantee you, most people are gonna go, I'm okay, I'm good, don't need it, I'm not tired. And he's probably right, he's hopped up on adrenaline, right? Now they've done studies, we can actually measure the decrease of the efficiency of your compressions after 5 sets. Doesn't matter if you're young, it doesn't matter if you're an athlete, your compressions, the efficiency of your compressions kind of go down after 5 sets. So if there's somebody there that's trained also, you want to switch with them, okay? It's not about you being tired, it's better for the patient if you switch. Now if you're by yourself, you're gonna keep going as long as you physically can or till help arrives. Does that make sense? Okay, so I give you guys a little mask here. We'll practice airway and then we'll put everything together. So if you look at your mask, you should be able to read in the fine print this side up, okay? If it's backwards, you gotta flip this. If you can read this side up, the rectangle is gonna go around the mouth of the patient. Now on a real person, what would happen is you would do the head tilt, chin lift maneuver, and you would pinch the nose at the bridge right here. These guys are hard plastic, that doesn't work, but we do have a system here that mimics an actual airway. So you're gonna simulate this by doing this. Check this out. So you're gonna put the rectangle over the mouth, you're gonna do the head tilt chin lift maneuver, and you're going to cover the nose holes in a pinching motion like this, okay? On a person, you do it up here. On these, you have to cover the nose holes. The reason you need to cover the nose holes is because there's a little valve right there that acts like an actual airway, you know? Now let me give you an incentive to never forget to pinch your patient's nose in real life. This pipe is connected to this pipe. When you put your mouth in their mouth and you blow and you don't close this pipe, their boogers are gonna get you. If that's not an incentive to make you remember that, I don't think I can help you. So, all right. So that being said, check this out. Once you put this in and you pinch the nose, you should be able to see a chest rise when you breathe in. Make sure that the head is tilted back. You should feel the air go in, and you should see a clear chest rise, okay? There's a few small rules to CPR for adults. Here's your first rule. Anytime you try to breathe into somebody's mouth and the air does not go in, okay? Don't assume they have something stuck in there, because that's what people do. They go, oh, the air doesn't go in, they're choking on something, okay? So here's the rule. Anytime the air doesn't go in, you're going to retilt, reopen, or reposition the airway and try again. Sometimes the difference between an open airway and a closed airway is really small. So if you just have this much of a tilt, sometimes going just that much more, air will now go in. If you retilt the head a second time and air does not go in, so how would you know that? Because when you blow, your cheeks are gonna go like this. There's no place for the air to go, okay? So if you try it a second time, maybe they have something stuck in there, and I can show you how to take care of that in a little bit.
Do you not check if there's something stuck just like
so
before?
The thing that's a little bit different now is we don't do sweeps at all. I'm a guitar player, man. I haven't stuck my hand in people's mouths anyway, but now it's a rule. We do not do finger sweeps. I'll show you what to look for in a second. We'll go through CPR, I'll show you choking, and that's when we check.
Why is that? Why?
Because if somebody's not getting air, and they had, as an example, I had a dentist at one of the offices I teach in Sacramento, and he had his finger bitten off by a patient. He had a seizure while he was digging around, and he literally bit his finger off. So if we can see something, we open the airway. If you see something right there, and you can snag it really quick, perfect. but we don't do blind finger sweeps anymore. We don't look for something that we can't see. That makes sense?
Kiteboarder probably not joking.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. You know Nat? Sherman. Yeah, Sherman?
Yeah.
One time, I saw a shadow. I looked up, and Nat's like 15 feet above my head, and he's got a Corona. Like, it looked like the Pepsi commercials. Just like, you know, up there somewhere. So, you never know, you know, what kiteboarders might do. All right, so let's put this all together, okay? And I want you guys to repeat this stuff with me because I only have these hours to get you guys set, right? So when you approach something, kite's taken care of. First thing you're gonna do, you're gonna look up, look down, look side to side. Is it safe? Does it look like it can approach? Think about this, if something happens to you, not only you're not helping that person anymore, now you're part of the problem, okay? So up, down, side, side, look safe. We're gonna go to the patient, give him a little shake and shout. Hey buddy, are you okay? Are you okay? Let me hear you say it.
You okay? You okay?
Hey buddy. If they don't respond, look at somebody specifically and tell them what to do.
Call 911, come back.
Call 911.
Okay, help is coming, right? Sherman, warm water, sometimes we don't wear wetsuits, you know, so the chest is exposed. You know, take a nice breath to yourself, out through your mouth. One more time. Look at their chest very carefully. No more than 10 seconds. It's not moving. We're gonna go straight to compressions. So first hand, mid nipple line. Second hand on top. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 2, 3, 4, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Beautiful. Now you're going to put your mask on them. Open the airway, pinch the nose so the boogers don't get you. 2 full breaths. Okay, after the second breath, straight back to compressions. Ready? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. 2 breaths. If you don't feel the air going in, make sure to position it, open the airway a little more. And here we go. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. 2 breaths. Nobody has to go to Zumba tonight. I'll write your notes. Okay, and you can stop. Let's give the other folks a chance. If you have your own manager.
Got your back. Was I getting air into him? Do you think?
Sorry?
Oh, were you watching the
Yeah,
test?
yeah.
We'll talk about that in 1 second. Let me get these guys here going. Okay, look up, look down, side to side, look straight. It's bad. Shake and shout. Hey, dude, you okay? They're not moving. Tell somebody to do. I need you to come back and tell me. Take a deep breath. Out your mouth. Look at their chest very carefully. Nothing's happening. We're going straight to compressions. Here we go. And
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
see what he's doing? Counting for him? That's awesome.
19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30.
So this right here, what he's doing, that's very, very helpful.
I try to do this in our program.
Okay, 2 breaths. Very good breath. Here we go. And
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30.
2 breaths, and then you can stop. So, 30 breaths, 30 compressions, 2 breaths, 5 times, and you switch. So now, let's talk about water, because somebody just asked me, what if, don't you put them on the side if water comes out? So, if you're doing compressions and the patient vomits, or you have water coming out like that, right? We just lost, if they vomit, we just lost what?
The airway.
Airway, so our second priority. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna stop what you're doing and My kryptonite, my entire career in the fire service, has been vomit. I can't wait to pee and poop and bloody, charred bones and skulls, and I'm good. Somebody vomits, my eyes start to water, and I'm the guy that goes, you know, still do your job, right? So what you're gonna do is, if they vomit, I wanna turn them away from me. If you wanna turn them towards you, knock yourself out. I want them away from me, right? So I'm gonna turn them this way. I'm gonna scoop out as much as I can. Bring them back. Go back to it. If the air goes in, that's a touchdown, right? After you turn them and you scooped everything out, if you can't get the air to go in, what's the rule? Try again, reposition, retilt. So I need to show you a little piece of equipment real quick. She was 7 at the time. She's a full-grown mommy now with, I have 2 grandbabies. So, but I'm at Safeway with Rebecca, and Preston was a little dude. And we're at the vegetable section, and fruit section. And I'm putting stuff in the basket, and I hear, and I look over. Here's a grandpa dude with 2 little grandbaby daughter. They were twins. They had little pigtails and stuff. And the dude has a hand on a cantaloupe. Looks at me square in the eyes and goes, and keels over. Whoosh. People running from all over. And then I hear a very familiar voice, a little voice, go, "Everybody stand back. My dad's a fireman. He's got this. Go ahead, Dad." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Dad, go ahead. Go for it." I have enough gear in my truck and in my house to remove your liver and sell it in the black market. But I don't walk into the grocery store with my first aid kit. Everybody's looking at me. The 7-year-old's going, and I go, "Oh God." So it's the first time in my entire career that I kissed Grandpa. And I didn't dig it at the time, but he survived, which is awesome. So the way I rectified that, so I never have to go through that experience again, even though it was positive, cool story, is that, everywhere I go, I got my keys with me. And this little pouch right here is a CPR mask. It's a one-time use. And the cool thing about it is that it has ear loops on them. So that helps with the positioning, but there's something very, that's more important. And it has to do with my dislike of vomit, okay? So if you open this mask up, it has a one-way valve, but what I really like is these ear loops. So this goes on the patient, okay? These guys have poor ears, so I'll demonstrate on myself. So it says top right there, This is gonna go in the patient's ears like this. This is a one-way valve mask. So what that means is that I can blow this way, but nothing's coming at me the other way. The beauty of the ear loops is because of the way they sit on the patient. If this patient were to throw up, right, and I can still pinch the nose right here. If the patient were to throw up, all I have to do is unhook the bottom ear loop. On my kits, I have gloves and stuff. Now I can carefully tilt the patient to the side, take my glove hand, scoop out everything that I can, bring him back, hook up the mask again, and I'm back in business. Also, because of the ear loops, if they vomit unannounced, if they go, "Surprise!" the vomitus is gonna go downward because of where they're anchored. Does that make sense? So I highly recommend things like this.
How common is that, the vomiting?
So here's the you want the good news or the bad news? So the good news is that most times they don't vomit on you. But what's happening is your body's not getting enough oxygen. It's trying to compensate all over the place. And one of the things that can happen, the patient will vomit. They'll lose control of urine and bowel. Usually that we're lucky because that happens when we put them in the ambulance. 8 times out of 10 it happens to us. But it's just an easy thing to have. The only thing I say, this is gonna sound like a sexist comment, and please, it's a disclaimer right here. If you're a lady and you get yourself one of these, please, please, please don't throw them inside of the black hole that is a purse. I don't touch my wife's purse because God knows what's in there. And like, there's like 1,000 items, and if you try to find this little mask in a purse, you might as well just give them last rites, So if you're a lady and you get one of these, hook them to your keys, because you can always shake your purse, right? And you can always find your keys. So I highly recommend, don't have this just sitting somewhere. Attach them to your keys, and you're good to go. Okay. So
Question?
yes.
So you talked about tilting the person to clear potential vomit, but what about the neck?
So we're always concerned about C-spine, right? But before we get to C-spine, every time you deal with a medical emergency of any kind, your first priority is to think CAB, circulation, airway, and breathing. If you're not circulating, if the pump isn't working, the end result, that is you die. If you don't have an airway, if the pipe isn't open to allow air to get in, you die. And if you're not breathing, you die. So we always take that precaution. And if you have enough people to do a log roll, it's awesome. But right here, our priority is.
I was thinking that aesthetic, but it's not. It's very good.
It happens, yeah. But if you're dealing with a drowning, what might happen is you start CPR and water comes out. Same thing. We're just gonna, clear the airway and go back to business. Does that make sense?
What do you do if you have water in the lungs?
It's the exact same procedure.
Just like
This here, it's gonna bring things up, and then we're just gonna tilt them, make sure the airway's clear. Okay. The big thing, guys, is call 911. Those are the big guns. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to minimize, something bad already happened. Let's minimize, keep it from getting worse. So yes.
Say you're by yourself and somebody is not breathing on the ground. Do you take the time to run to your car, get your phone?
This is a great question. So there's a very specific set of rules for calling help by yourself, and there's a very big difference between adults and children and infants. Okay. So if you're by yourself and your patient is an adult, we want you to go call. I know. I'm sorry. Call help first. So yeah, take the time to run to your, because you need help coming. You can bring your phone, right? Put it on speaker and start doing this while you're talking to them. But you want to call for an adult first if you're by yourself. If your patient is a child or an infant and you're by yourself, you need to start CPR if that's what they warrant immediately. You're going to do a full set. So 30 compressions, 2 breaths, 5 times, it's about 2 minutes, and then you're going to call for help.
So why is there a difference?
We're all very oxygen dependent, okay? But you're a grown man with everything there. So little kids are a lot more susceptible to time. Sooner. And here's the other problem.
Could you repeat the question? Because I definitely got lost.
So why the difference? Like I said, we all need oxygen, no matter what size you are. But you're a grown man with everything forming where it needs to be. Okay? Little kids, man, everything's still developing there. The other problem with kids, especially babies, is a lot of the times when we find babies that need CPR, it's because they didn't wake up for their nap, or they're late waking up in the morning. So you find the child, if it was unobserved, you don't know how long they've been without oxygen. And they're very oxygen dependent. We want to oxygenate them immediately. What we found out is that children have a better chance of surviving if you're by yourself, if you start first, do a full set, and then you call for help. Make sense?
That the timing of actually getting the mask versus just going for it.
Oh, so if this is my kid, so
No mask.
So check this out. The reason that we're here doing this today, the reason I have that, trailer, I've been doing this for 30 years. My son stopped breathing at home when he was 2.5. And at that time I had about 7 years in the fire service, going to people's homes and people's businesses and telling them, no matter how bad your problem is or you think your problem is, give it to me and I'll handle it for you. When my kid wasn't breathing, I didn't know my name. I didn't know up from down. I didn't know what to do. It was my kid, you know. The action of taking him from my chest and putting him down on the ground was the hardest thing I've ever done. And I remember that day. Did a lot of speaking and training for first responders for SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. And the parents remember every detail of that day. I remember my kid, thank goodness, made it, but I remember every detail. And the reason I tell you guys, when you're doing something that's first aid CPR related, say things out loud. Everything you do, say it out loud. This is why. I remember when I put him down and I didn't know what to do, what I said was, Kirk, don't be his dad, do what you do. And then I started going through exactly what we do in the fire department. When you're doing first aid or CPR, helping a kiter, right? If I go, hey, you got 911? I'm gonna get my first aid kit out of my car, okay? He goes, I'm gonna flag the fire department. You know, you're taking care of the patient. You guys are taking care of the patient. If you say things out loud, if somebody forgot something, somebody might catch it. Hey, wait, did you call? You know. So here's the typical example. Let's say Jeff and I, we have bomb first aid kits in our cars. So we split and we go get our first aid kits. We didn't say anything to anybody, right? You're going over to the front of the parking lot to flag the fire department down. These guys are doing CPR. What hasn't got done? What didn't get done? Nobody called on one. You're sitting there going, when is the fire department going to get here? Holy cow.
You didn't call.
Nobody called. So if you say things out loud, hey, I'm going to start CPR. Hey, I'm getting the first aid kit. Awesome. Did anybody call the fire department? I'll call the fire department. Say things out loud, okay? Make sense? What you were doing, what was your name? Andrew. Andrew, what you were doing, when he was doing CPR, he was here behind him going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I wasn't doing CPR. I felt supported, you know? So that's something that you need to do. Even if you're not the person physically doing this, if you're sitting there, you're counting for them. If they forget something, you know, you can do that. There's hands only CPR, and the reason we teach that is some people they're not gonna put their mouths on anybody, right? I just want you to think about this. So if you're not gonna put your mouth on somebody, you can just do compressions until somebody gets there. It's way better than nothing happening. But here's my pledge to you. If you're ever at my beach or if I'm at your beach and you go down, you know what, brothers and sisters, I'm gonna put my mouth on you and do everything I can to bring you back. It's my anniversary today. I love my wife. We dated when we were kids. We're separated 30 years. Today, 6 years I've been married to her. I want to live a long. We missed a lot of time in between. So man, if I go down, I hope that you guys would just do for me what I would do. Kiss me. Just kiss me, man. It's okay. All right. So, but if you know, let's say again, you know, foil hits you in the face and your jaw's hanging. Sorry, I don't mean. It happens. Shit happens, right? And you're looking at it going, I don't even know where to put my mouth. This is not happening. Compressions. Do compressions. You know, that's going to help a whole bunch. Okay. You guys doing okay? What time is it? How are we doing?
11:35.
11:35. Okay, so 1 o'clock, right? We have a little more time because I want to talk about not all first aid. We're not going to talk about, you know, epileptic. We're not talking seizures. We're not talking about using an EpiPen. We're talking about things that you might have to deal with. And so, stopping bleeding. We're going to do that a little bit, and I'll show you things in terms of gear that you might want to think about. How are you guys feeling with this?
Good.
Doing okay? So one more time. Kill the kite. Okay? Look up, down, side to side. Be sure you're not going to get bitten. Those are the key points if you put anything out there. Instead of everything. Key points. Kill the kite. Make sure that you're safe. When you get to the patient, if they're conscious and talking to you, but they're down, use your powers of persuasion to try to keep them down until somebody with a badge shows up. Okay? We're just having a conversation. If the big dude wants to fight you to stand up, are you going to fight him? No. You're going to go, dude, I'm really concerned about you. There's injuries that we might not see. You know, dude, let's be smart about this. The nicer you are, the more likely they are to listen to you. If they're down and they're unconscious but breathing, okay, If they're breathing, you're gonna hold their head in the position where it is. If they're not breathing, you're gonna start CPR immediately, right? Remember log rolling people? If you have people there to help you, tell them what to do. 30 compressions, 2 breaths, 5 times, switch. If there's nobody to switch, keep going until you physically can't do it. Physically or emotionally you can't do it anymore. Make sense?
Yeah.
Do we stop as soon as they breathe?
I'm sorry?
Do we stop as soon as they breathe? Or?
So, you know, I love TV, man. I'm a TV addict. And I love to watch CPR on TV because every time they go, come on, don't give up, right? And they, you guys remember Baywatch?
Yeah.
Like seriously, remember the old Baywatch?
Yeah.
With Hasselhoff and Pamela Anderson? I love that show, dude. That show was the best, and this is why. So, that was the most watched show on the planet when it was on. And as much as we make fun of it, people started showing up at the firehouse, knocking on the door and going, hey, how do you do that thing they do on Baywatch to save people? It brought CPR to the light, you know?
Dude, they just wanted to do that to people.
Oh, dude, what I liked was Pamela, whose name was CJ on the series. I love her. I love Pam. Not for the reasons you're thinking. I like her ability on the show to every other week hit her head on something and go unconscious underwater. You know what I'm talking about? She's jogging by the pier. Hits her head like underwater, right? She's jogging by the rescue boat. Hits her head there underwater. Now, how they made her sink, I haven't figured that one out yet. But she would sink, right? And then there was Mitch. You guys remember Mitch? Hasselhoff. Hasselhoff at the end of the series, he's getting old and fat. So he would suck his gut in. And they wear a t-shirt. He always wore a t-shirt at the beach. And they would film everything in slow motion, you know. So Pamela sinks and Mitch goes into action. Jumps into the water, finds her underwater, pulls her to the beach. There's 30 people wearing thong bikinis, you know, doing this bit. And every other week he'd pull her out and he'd go, come on, CJ, fight, don't give up, right? And every other week, Pam would do this. She'd go, thanks, Mitch. Drug off for dinner later. So bless their hearts. The point to what you're asking is that in my 30-year career, a couple of times I've seen somebody come out, you know, after drugs and shock and all that. Usually they go to the hospital, you know, they stabilize them in the ER, they go to ICU for a while, the people that survive. So it's not like in the movies, you're not gonna go, hey, you know, 17, 18, they're gonna go, oh, thank you, I feel so much better now. Let's go kiting. You know, that's not gonna happen. So, you know, you gotta get your heart ready also. And if you're involved with anything, where's Steve here there? So, you know, dude, what you did, going after, you know, our brother and doing what you could, you might find at some point you have to go sit under a tree or talk to somebody because it's hard to deal with this, you know. The thing that used to really tick me off about the way CPR was taught is that they would teach you the class, they give you a card, and they go save a life. Sometimes people die, you know, sometimes people die. But if all the conditions come together, somebody like you guys are there and you're willing to get involved, then our chances of being, you know, bringing somebody back are way better. But sitting there feeling powerless, nobody wants to go through that, you know. So
Can I ask, did he pass like shallow water blackout?
You were just getting dragged under the water. So I guess the answer is yes.
In the surf community, we talk about it's not very likely to actually have water in your lungs, right?
but if you have water in your lungs, you're probably dead. You've been down there for a long time.
Can you talk for a second about timing of getting to somebody?
He's asking about the timing to get to somebody. I'm not a big fan of statistics because you can manipulate them to prove whatever point you want. But in EMS, we kind of agree as a general rule for every minute that goes by that somebody needs CPR without something being done, you know, their chances decrease by about 10%. So if you're sitting around watching somebody for 5-6 minutes before you decide to get actively involved, their chances just decrease that much more. Now, with that being said, there's a lot of cases of drowning. Most that I've seen have not been in salt water, where people have been under. If the water's really cold, you know, they're hypothermic, slow things down. We've seen people that have been brought back with no deficiency. You know, so it happens. I mean, you're looking. You know, I'm not a church guy, but the best example I can give you, you know, is whether you believe or not, when you talk about resurrection, right? Resurrection, in a biblical sense, what do you call that? It's a what? To bring someone from the dead, it's a what? It's a miracle. It's a miracle, right? So if you think about it, CPR, cardio, heart, pulmonary, lung, resuscitation, to bring back from the dead, right? If you read it biblically, you go, that's a miracle. Now, if we do CPR and we bring somebody back, we go, hey, high five, that was pretty cool. It's a miracle, man. I mean, everything has to come together just right. The person has to, you know, physically be in a state where they're salvageable. You know, when I worked ER and somebody would bring a relative over and they go, oh, we're so surprised Aunt Emma died. And Emma was like 89 years old, had COPD, you know, had one lung removed, and, you know, she's been in hospice for 2 months and they're surprised. So what we're doing here is we're giving each other the best possible chance that if everything comes together, you know, we have a chance. If we don't do anything, it's 100% guarantee of a dead person. You know, so act as promptly as you can. But there's something that I need to say that people don't like to hear at all. We're water people. Some of us have dealt with much bigger water than others. You know, dude, you know. But what I find out is that with water, there's really only two types of folks, nothing in between. There's water people and there's non-water people. Now, every once in a while, you get a halfway person trying to become a water person that's, you know, not quite there.
Out of water?
Huh? Out of water.
Out of water?
Yeah. Did you say paddle water?
I said paddle water.
So, buddy, I liked you up to now.
Not in the waves, that's a different thing.
So with my neck, so I've been a surfer my whole life, right? So with my neck, what I found out is when I started popping up, my right side fails. You know, I have nerve damage. And after I smacked my face about 6 times, I go, this isn't working. So I started supping in the waves with a surf shape. And it's funny because I feel like an old man, I'm all broken. But once I paddle into the wave, 15 years old, man, everything just works perfectly. So it's like I said, one of the reasons that it's so important that we do this is that we're gonna hang on to this lifestyle, all of us. As I don't know about you guys, man. I mean, even, you know, I have days I walk out of the water. He's like like I said, my boot. I go, dude, I just shouldn't even do this. I suck so bad. I'm not being able to do. You know, I have deficiencies that are presenting themselves with this, and I keep trying to modify so I can just be in the water. And so I might get in trouble one of these days, you know, and hopefully this helps a little bit. The other thing I want to talk about, yeah, go ahead.
So, just a practical scenario. Say we're here, we're alone, pull someone out of the water, our cell phone is in the upper parking lot or whatever. Do we start CPR right away, or do we actually like pick a
So
time?
you're saying we. If you have we here,
No, just like we as in like me. Like I'm alone
Okay.
here. There's no one.
so the difference is this. If you have we, anybody else, you send them and you start.
Right. No, but just
If
say
you're
alone.
by yourself, this is not me, this is not my opinion, this is the way you have to teach this. If you're with an adult and you're by yourself, you're gonna call help first and then start CPR.
Even if it's like 10 minutes.
Because what's gonna happen is you're just gonna be here, you know.
But somebody may ride by on a
But
bike.
yeah,
Right, exactly.
you know, this is it's not just kiteboarding. I mean, there's people walking here all the time.
Right.
That lady, hey, you on the bike, I need help.
Right.
You know, you're not gonna be here kiteboarding at night by yourself. You know,
I mean,
it's
I'm
a
just,
day.
I'm just saying,
Right.
like, you know,
So this
that's
is
the
the
only
rule,
option.
and I'm not giving an opinion on this because
Yeah.
this is how we are taught to teach.
Yeah.
If you're by yourself and your patient is an adult, you want to call help first and then start.
How long can we stay without breathing?
So this guy is gonna tell you. He's gonna laugh at me because he's a big wave surfer.
I can hold my breath for held my breath for 4 minutes and 40 seconds. I have a friend that can do 6 minutes.
But see, so when I was a kid, and I thought someday I'll be a really great surfer instead of a mediocre one, I used to sit at the pool at UC Davis with a 45-pound weight, and I used to just sit there and just, go out. Someday when I'm down for the big hole down, I'm practicing. And I got to 2 minutes. Most people won't make it to a minute and a half.
Yeah, but in surfing, most people are holding their breath for 30 seconds to a minute.
So, and not the reason I say that is, let's not talk about water. Choking. If somebody's choking in your house at your table, help and fire department, depending on where you live. It's in the best case scenario about 5 minutes away to 12 minutes away in an urban area. So if somebody starts to choke in my house, it's a 911 call right now. If you think, and here's another thing, guys. If you think there's a problem, you see somebody down there for a long time, you're not on your kite, you're just here, it doesn't look right, something's not moving, call for help. If you're going to make a mistake, make the mistake in favor of the patient. If the fire department gets here, whoever you call, the Coast Guard, and they're okay, no harm, no foul. But if you're sitting here going, I don't know, can they, I was in Brazil visiting my mom, and we live an hour by plane from Fortaleza. From our window, I watched, for all I know, two kiters die. As the wind, guys in Brazil, they surf. I mean, they're out so far off, it's crazy. And in this particular place, the wind just dies at this time. And 2 kites go down, and I see them. I went to the military police, got in a car, called the Navy. It's Brazil. And I was sick for about a week because I had no way to check on them. I had no way to get to them. I went to every authority that I could find, and they went, they're probably okay. And I'm going, I watched 2 guys die. I tried to tell everybody I could, and nobody cared.
I think that's another thing to talk about too, is we had a guy go down in Half Moon Bay, and we got on the phone, we called 911, and we go, there's a guy out here, and he's been floating for some time. Can you come and rescue him? And then nothing happened. And then we call back in. Hey, there's somebody, he could be hurt, and we don't know if he's going to get back to shore, blah, blah, blah. So I think one point to make is, like you said, it's better to almost exaggerate the call to actually get action taken than to downplay the situation.
Yeah, it's, if you think there's a problem, call, man. The rescuers are getting paid for that. If they have an attitude because nothing's wrong, shame on them.
It took 2.5 hours to get a boat out.
Okay, so what's the best way of action? Is it just like a kite without personal touch? Just like
No, I have a question. Mine's like right with him. My most realistic scenario for me is somebody's gonna come and say, there's a dude down, face down out there, and I go out on the jet ski. Like, my question is, should I move that guy? Should I pull him onto the ski? How do I start compressions and breathing out there?
Face down in the water.
Or
that's a dude that's either dead or on his way to dying.
Right.
So all the rules go out the window there. If you have a jet ski, if somebody's down there, I'm gonna get them here anywhere that I possibly can. Something we don't do in our community, and I just got it. Dude, I have a 3-person Sea-Doo now. It's got willed to me, and we don't have here and say, hey guys, we're trying to get a surf sled for the jet ski. If anybody gets in trouble, my idea with, we can go to the island and do downwinders, but also it's not a business, but I can definitely have that there. And if somebody gets in trouble with their kite, hey, hop onto the sled, we'll get your kite. So something to think about. If you have that there, put a bucket out and say, dude, let's donate, let's get a surf sled. And then go out and play with it when the wind isn't here, so you know what you're doing, I really, the thing I like about this community, and I think it starts with launching people's kites and landing them. We're each other's keepers, man. We need to pay attention to that. Let me cover something. I think I'm scheduled till 1 o'clock. It's a 4-hour deal, right? So I want to talk about, because we're seeing something. I just went to Southern California, and the surf was pretty good, and probably a third of the sups in the water were foils. So I guess I'm a dinosaur, man. The world's leaving me behind because everything's foils now. But the the possibility of getting cut with the foils is very, very real. And so stopping bleeding is something I want to talk about. Are you guys feeling okay with the CPR? Okay, so look at the chest.
Can I
Oh,
ask
that's-
just
yes.
to bring up a question? So your number one thing when you see someone go down is to kill the kite. So maybe we want to spend a minute talking about that and your experience and, you know, other ways besides a knife and cutting a line that you might disable a kite to then be able to approach the person.
Dude, would you? That way we can get everything ready for...
So obviously a knife in a situation, you know, is a great way to go about that. You of course want to be really aware of approaching a looping or, you know, fucked up kite so that you don't get involved and become a victim. The other thing, Jeff, tell me if this is a good or a bad idea, or, you know, as you as an instructor, I've heard people, because I've chatted a lot with people in the industry since this accident, about, you know, one of the possibilities is to get a boat or a jet ski in front of the kite. You know, if you're in a boat, drive over the kite. If you have a jet ski, drive over the kite. Just whatever you need to do. Good idea?
Bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Bad idea?
Bad. I mean, if you get a jet ski anywhere near kite line,
Right.
you have an immobile jet ski after that.
Right, but if the guy's underwater and he's dying,
Well, then you can't.
We saved a friend's life out on the Farallon Islands, and the kite was death looping.
Yeah.
The guy was blacking out, and we ran the kite over with the boat, saved his life.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely come from the back side of it, but if, you know, you just got to be really careful with lines in the water.
absolutely.
I usually don't even, if somebody's down in the water, and so, you know, I'll stop like 50 feet from them, and I'll yell like, "Where's your lines? Are your lines wrapped up?"
Sure.
And if they're not, I won't even come over near you until they are.
Right.
Then you know, I'm useless if the jet ski's
Sure,
dead.
but if the guy's unconscious, he's face down,
Right.
and his kite's doing funky shit, then you're
Right.
gonna do what you have to
Stop
do
the
to
kite, you know, but yeah.
drive your
But I
ski,
wouldn't run.
drive your ski through the little kite. If it has to deflate the kite, and, you know, yeah.
It's more of like, just like you're landing the kite directly towards the leading edge,
Yeah.
grab the air valve, pull the air valve out. It's not so
Right.
much of, I mean, we have ran it over with the boat before, but
If you have to.
it's more of targeting the leading edge and deflating the
Yeah, good. Okay.
I mean, if you get to the person, not the kite, you can, like, you know, immobilize the kite by just pulling one of the rear lines. So keep pulling it until the kite slides out of it.
Right. Right.
Run through it? I mean, I approach it from the back closely. I mean, I drag in tight. I mean, yes, so yeah. You gotta stop it, so yeah. So if you have to, yeah, you can run right into it.
Let's start with that. So broken bones, when people break something, they instinctively will take that limb and they'll put it into what we call a position of comfort, okay? Slings and splints are awesome. You can fashion them out of anything. You know, the fire department, we use a lot of these cardboard splints. They're cheap. You can mold them, you can cut them. You know, these aluminum splints are kind of cool because you can make gutter splints and you can shape them into different things. The reality of splinting is this: if you're in a place and you're far away from help, it's going to take a while for things to get there. We can splint. Okay. The trick to splinting is you want to immobilize the joint above and below the break. So if I break my arm right here, think about it this way. If this is a broken bone, right? If this moves, if my wrist moves, there's bones going that way. They're going to rub together. It's going to cause pain. It could cause the person to go into shock and more damage, right? If this moves, and I have bones going that way, doing the same thing. So when you immobilize somebody, you want to make sure that you immobilize the joint above and the joint below. Splints are awesome, but they're not always necessary. And here's what I mean by that. If you break your arm and you take that arm and you put it in a position of comfort, help is coming, they're self-splinting. You can take an ice pack from your first aid kit. That's going to help with the pain and the swelling. Okay. I've been to calls where the family immobilized it, the fire department got there, we took the splint off to look at it, we put our splint on it. The ambulance came, gave us back our splint, put their splint. Before they left the scene, they had 3 splints. What's the purpose of a splint? Immobilize it, right? So if the person is self-splinted and help is coming, sometimes that's the best thing right there. Okay, that makes sense. If they're in a position with with their leg, again, if they are in a place where they're comfortable, that's awesome. You guys heard about shock? So shock is kind of a funny thing because you could have an injury that's not life-threatening, but if the person goes into shock, shock could kill them. So it's important that we recognize the signs of shock. So if a person's clammy, dark circles under their eyes, everybody's dry, that person's dripping sweat. They look like a shit sandwich, really. It's pretty easy to recognize. There's certain things that you can do for them. One of the things that can cause you to go into shock, let's say brother here had a broken knee, a broken leg. Let's say that you have a compound, an open fracture with a bone sticking out. When you see that could cause you to go into shock. So one of the things I do with something like this is if he hasn't quite noticed what's happening, I would get in his face a little bit like this. Hey brother, just look right at me. I'm gonna get some help over. Do me a favor, can you get a blanket out of my first aid kit? I'll take one of the aluminized blankets. I'll put it down. I'm trying to block his view from the leg. What we do a lot without meaning to is if I'm walking towards Jeff, right? And not sure what's happening. He's just sitting there looking a little bit out of sorts. I walk over and I see a bone sticking out. Our natural reaction is to do something like this. Oh shit, right? And now Jeff, that hasn't noticed the bone out because he's kind of in shock, he's gonna go, oh shit, what? And it's gonna go from there. So if you're walking towards somebody, right, and you see something that is hard to look at, take a second, turn your back towards it, deep breath, get yourself together, and hey buddy, here, I'm gonna help you out. We got some people coming. Because if you go, so this action has never helped anything ever in any circumstance, okay? This action. Hey, your dog's loose. He's death looping. That does nothing. So, and it's gonna make it worse for them. So if you take a breath and go, oh my God, that looks awful. Hey, Jeff, buddy, what's going on? Hey, let's put a blankie on you type thing. Make sense? Comfort the person, talk to them, don't lie to people. Hate that. If your foot's separated from, if your foot took your foot off, don't tell them, oh, it's okay. We reattach those. Well, it's bad. Let's stop the bleeding. Make sure that you're okay. It's better to be honest with people. Okay.
But it sounds like you can try to distract them or not. You don't have to disclose everything, right?
You don't. But if he's completely aware of what's happening, that might cause. So you have to use your judgment a little bit there. See what's happening. If I can keep them calm, that's one thing. But if they're specifically asking me, is my foot still in the water? It's right here, buddy. I got it. So the way to stop bleeding is super, super easy. Remember, it used to be pressure, elevation, all that. We're using pressure. That's it. If you have a bunch of 4x4, so here's the deal. I had several offers when I put this together, and I want to make sure that no brand got, pimped. Yeah, no brand got pimped, no services got pimped, everything. I want this to be free. People donated bagels and coffee. Thank you so much. That's awesome. I'm not here to push my stuff, but I'm happy to show you what I have because I spent 2 years putting my kits together. And one of the things that I noticed, whatever kit you have, wherever you get your stuff, one of the only requirements by OSHA is that you have a couple of 4x4s that are sterile. 4x4s won't stop any bleeding at all. You need to have big. Said a lot of. If you open these kits that you buy commercially, they have 2 4x4s that are gauze that's sterile. If I have somebody with a good bleed, I'm going to start with about that much. So all you're going to do, sit up, give me your arm. If he's bleeding, I don't have my gloves on, I don't have my kit. I'm just gonna take, if you have a clean towel, paper towels, shirt, whatever, until you get your gear. If you just put that right where it's bleeding, hey, Kirk, do me a favor. Put your hand right here. Hold that really, really tight. We just took care of 2 problems here. The first one is that direct pressure is gonna stop most of the bleeding we're gonna encounter, okay? By having him put pressure on it himself, it frees me up to go get my actual first aid equipment. And I cannot tell you how many times I've seen people that were totally freaking out over stuff, right? And as soon as you go, they go, bleeding, go, here, put pressure here, hold it. They go, okay. Because now they're doing something. They have a job, they have some control over what's, does that make sense? So if you can get the person involved, that really helps. So once you have a, something stopped with 4x4s, any kind of a roller bandage, and you guys will be able to practice here, any kind of a roller bandage will work. This sounds stupid, but if you don't do it every day, you kind of forget, right? You want to use... You guys hear? Can you guys hear me with this thing or without this thing? Does it matter? Does it make a big difference? Okay. So when the plates come up, I'll grab it. Okay, so check this out. Roller bandage, okay? It sounds stupid, but you want to put this on top of the wound so that it unrolls like a wheel instead of that way, okay? If you put it this way because you forgot, and then you go, oh, I should have done it the other way, you can flip it. You stand up for me so they can see you. How you guys doing? Okay, so he's bleeding. I got my roller bandage. What I'm talking about is I'm going to lay this on top like this so that it unrolls easily this way. If I had started the other way, all you have to do is exactly that, because this way you have to reach over and under. You can just go, oh, that way. Just take a flip and go.
That's not very pretty.
It will be by the time I get done. If it starts to bleed through the dressing, this is really important. We always add to a bandage. We never take away from a bandage, okay? So if he starts to bleed through, all I'm gonna do, and this is why you need kits that have a bunch of 4x4s in them, or abdominal pads, the 5x9 pads. All I'm gonna do is take another stack, put it on top of that. Next go around, put a little more pressure. When you get to the end, you could have a paper clip, one of those little metal clips. If you don't have anything, or Velcro, if you get to the end and there's nothing there, all you're gonna do is tuck it in. That's gonna help you. Most things that we're gonna see, something like this will help stop the bleeding.
Can I go back in the water now?
Duct tape. So if you guys can get in groups of 3, I'm gonna throw you some bandages. If you just throw a couple of these roller bandages on, folks.